Assalamu alaikum. On behalf of the Board of Management of the 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House Museum and Jinnah Society, I'd like to welcome all of you today to celebrate the birthday of the 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑. We at the Board of Management at the 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House Museum and the Institute of Nation Building, we are making joint efforts to carry on an exercise of nation building with emphasis and with a focus on the younger generation to propagate the principles, ideals, and vision of Mr. Jinnah, and particularly his ideals of unity, faith, and discipline, to which we would also like to add our celebration of 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑's public honor and private integrity, his unity of purpose, his faith in God and in ourselves, and discipline in our lives that will take us forward towards progress in all our spheres. I just want to give you some information about the 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House Museum, and many of the board members are present here today. Mr. Aqil Bilgrami is present, Ms. Nadra Panjwani, Commodore Sadeed Saab. This is an institute, 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House Museum is an institute of nation building. An MOU was signed with Jinnah Society, Sindh government, and KCFR to pursue, propagate Jinnah's principles and ideals. It has, but also to make it into a culture, into a heritage and culture center through nation building activities. The 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House Museum, as you see, is an educational museum displaying relics from Jinnah from his private collection for visitors who can learn about the struggle for independence. And then we also organize events here for children, for others, such as debates, seminars, literary events, art exhibitions. And the whole idea is to create a role model for our young. Through different ways, through screenings of films, and we will also be screening a film here today. So today the program is that we would like to invite, we'll have speeches by Ms. Nadra Panjwani and Ms. Sadia Rashid, who should be here soon. And after that, we will have a panel discussion, and that will be a launch of a book, Resilient Pakistan. It's an outstanding book written by Haya Fatma Sehgal, who's on the stage. And we will also launch 2 books for children called 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 in English and in Urdu, published by Lightstone Publishers, which we'll be launching here today. And we have copies here for all our guests. So we'll have a panel discussion, speeches, and the launch of these books. And I'm sure that it will be a very interesting evening. We will also have a screening of a film made by the Citizens Archives of Pakistan. It's a short film. I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. So I think without further ado, let's begin the program. And may I invite Ms. Nadra Panjwani to the stage to give a speech. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable colleagues, Board of Management, 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House, respected guests, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Today is an important day in our national calendar, and for me to be present in our 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House on this significant day is truly an honor. As you know, 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 was born on 25th of December, 1876 in Karachi. During his lifespan of 72 years, which ended in 1948, he created for us an identity, a homeland, and a nation. There have been very few personalities in the chronicles of world history who have managed to achieve so much in one lifetime. His determination, his statesmanship, and his untiring struggle achieved for us an independent country where we can live with freedom, with dignity, with peace, and with honor. Of the many misfortunes that we have had since our independence in 1947, to my mind, the death of 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 in September 1948, so soon after the partition of the subcontinent, was perhaps most unfortunate. He wanted Pakistan to rise as a modern, democratic, pluralistic state with freedom, equality, justice, and tolerance as its hallmarks. But after him, successive leaders all failed to remain true to the guiding principles of the founding father. We as a people have also generally failed his vision and expectations, and consequently, today's Pakistan has no resemblance whatsoever with the dream that he had for us. So my dear students, on a day like this, when we celebrate his memory and his life, it is most essential for us to try and understand what were the guiding principles that he upheld, what were the values that he celebrated and cherished, what were the traditions that he honored, what were the work ethics that he followed, and what were the ideas he had for the future development of our country. In this context, a lot of material is available in the form of his speeches at different fora, books and autobiographies written on him by local and foreign scholars, large collection of photographs showing his public engagements at different stages of his life, and good articles that appear from time to time in newspapers and magazines. I ask you to read this with interest and focus. Try to understand and internalize his vision and his thinking, and then it is entirely possible that the insight that you will get will start to make a difference and help us to return to the right path. All of us here at the 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House want to do whatever we can to revive his true memory and legacy. And when I say true memory and legacy, I'm not talking about the standard activities and tributes and songs and speeches made on such occasions. I'm talking about the need to understand and adopt the broadness and depth of his vision for Pakistan, about the Islamic principles that he followed, which made him a man who was in all his dealings fair, tolerant, honest, and upright, about a man who was outstanding in his profession and established his superior intellect and ability in all his engagements, and finally a man who showed phenomenal loyalty to the ideology of Pakistan. He achieved Pakistan for us through tremendous personal sacrifice. He gave up his vast estate and wealth in India. He gave up his flourishing law practice in Bombay. He lost his family connections when he migrated here, and he neglected his personal health and well-being in his struggle for Pakistan. That was the personal cost that he paid to achieve this homeland for us. Today, most of the Muslim countries of the world are in a state of crisis. Just look around you. Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Lebanon, Palestine, all devastated and in turmoil. The so-called wealthy countries, the oil-rich countries, are all client states under the total control of foreign powers, with zero freedom or human rights for their people. What is happening in Gaza is a wake-up call for all Muslims around the world. We should be grateful to Allah that we are in a much better condition than the rest of them. By adhering to 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑's dictum of unity, faith, and discipline, we must make Pakistan a model Muslim country with peace, progress, moderation, justice, and equality for all its citizens. To those children here who aspire to be leaders of tomorrow, I want to say that it is essential for you to be enthusiastic readers. As they say, readers today, leaders tomorrow. I'm so happy to see the relaunch of two very good books from the 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 House. One is a beautifully written and illustrated book on 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 for children by Amina Asfar Saheba. It is called Our Qaid. I feel honored to have written the foreword for this book because I think it's a precious gift for the children of Pakistan. It tells the story of our Qaid's life in a simple and a very engaging style. The second book is a collection of articles and interviews by Ms. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 called Resilient Pakistan. Haya is a young and talented writer with a strong sense of direction and purpose. The gift of writing runs in her family. Her father, 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑, is an eminent defense analyst and a prolific writer with several publications to his credit, and Haya is carrying on with the family tradition. It is evident from her writings that she draws inspiration from 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑. There are many references to him in her articles. I find the title of her book very suitable for our times. Nowadays, with so much depression and hopelessness everywhere, it is important to celebrate stories of resilience and hope. Over the past 75 years, we have had many tragedies, misfortunes, and calamities. But despite all of this, we are still here. And this is because we have a resilient nation, and this is a quality to celebrate. I'm sure 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 is at this moment smiling at us from his home in heaven and feeling quite pleased about the launch of these two books from his home on earth. On this solemn day, let us pledge our total loyalty and commitment to Pakistan and to protect her to the best of our abilities always. Pakistan Zindabad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nada Panjwani, for an excellent speech. We will now begin a panel discussion on 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 and on this wonderful book by Haya Fatma Sehgal, Resilient Pakistan. And I would ask, we'll have a short discussion, then we will open it to question and answers in case any of you have question and answers. But please, if you could keep them short. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Yes, please. This is working.
Ji Salikam. Actually, I've been reading this book, Resilient Pakistan, by Haya Fatma Sehgal. And it's really, it has a very wide canvas. It covers a wide range of not just subjects, but also personalities. But what is special about it is that it's a very intense piece of work. I find that it's been written with a lot of passion by a very talented young woman. And this is what has given me hope in Pakistan, that the book has been written very frankly. It's really, I feel it's a cry from the heart. And it is a young Pakistani woman who is having a look at the country in all its aspects. She's written about COVID, she's written about mountain climbing, she's written about prominent personalities, and she's written about role models. People like Ms. Fatma Jinnah. I mean, I learned some things from the book which I didn't know about. So obviously, a lot of research has gone into it. And she has highlighted some very important issues. Particularly, actually, I learned from the book that the term Jinnah's Pakistan was coined by Mr. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 Merchant in 2009. And now it's really a term that we use all the time. So I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about this book. And I'd like to start with you, Haya, the author of this book. That what do you think about, I mean, do you feel that Pakistan is really resilient? And do you see a lot of hope for the country? So do tell us about your thoughts.
I get asked this question a lot. Do I feel if Pakistan is really resilient? And I get this question because I guess I kept the title of the book. And I do feel that Pakistan is resilient. I feel that it has survived an onslaught of many things, not just social, cultural, but political upheavals. We've suffered through many things, and I think that we have come to this point that we have the ability to bounce back and actually still survive whatever we have been going through. I know that right now there's a lot of depression and uncertainty and so many things that people are feeling, and they're feeling this disintegration. And I would always suggest to the person that look around us that we are still here. I mean, we have this ability to survive so much, and we are here in Jinnah's Pakistan. Perhaps it's not the one that he envisioned, and I agree with that, because most of the people who talk about resilience or resilient Pakistan always question me. And I was asked this question in DC recently. They said, you can call yourself resilient Pakistan, but do you really think that, are you not hiding something? But as soon as the person said that, and this was an expert on South Asia and an analyst that I respect, he already knew that in the third volume of my book, I had not left out anything. I laid it all for people to read. I was also censored at one point where people said this cannot go into print. And we do have to accept that there are huge concerns. We know that. We know that we're coming to this point where we say, well, are you not seeing what's around you? How can we call ourselves resilient? But we have gone through this process, and we have stayed together, and we are still here.
Thank you, Haya. You know, I was very interested in the book that you spoke about, the title Jinnah's Pakistan. And I think I would like to just repeat what Mr. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 Merchant said, that he described what, in his opinion, was Jinnah's Pakistan and what should be present here to make the country into what his vision was. And that is the supremacy of the Constitution, sovereignty of the Parliament, independence of the judiciary, and duties of the state to citizens and of citizens to the state, protection of minorities, protection of human rights and women's rights, equal rights for all Pakistanis, irrespective of religion or caste or creed, and building Pakistan into a modern, progressive state. This was Jinnah's idea of Pakistan, and this is something that we need to work towards. So, I would like to ask 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 Haider. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 Haider is with the Hum Network and has been a journalist. She was editor of Dawn's review, actually, and Images and review. I think you launched the review. Okay. And one of the personalities covered in this book is Sultana Siddiqui, her journey, which is actually inspirational. So, 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑, what do you think of Jinnah's vision of the empowerment of women as given in the book and otherwise, and the role of women like Sultana Siddiqui in actually making that vision come true?
Maybe well, I'd rather talk about the book itself in the beginning. I think 𝐻𝐻𝐻 Sehgal's book, Resilient Pakistan, is a labor of love. She has done a lot of research and fact-finding to make it an authentic one. And I think she has the highest regard and respect for and love for Quaid-e-Azam, as we all do, because he gave us this wonderful country. What we are doing with it, that's our problem. But he did what he had to do in insurmountable odds that he had to face. So he had a vision. He was positive. He was an unparalleled statesman who made this country, and he had the help of the people and his cabinet. He had chosen a cabinet. So he had everything going for him, even though there was this dishonest and demarcation of the country, which did not deter him because he knew that he had the right people with him. What he didn't have was time. And after 13 months, he was not with us anymore. And I fervently believe that if he had lived a few more years, Pakistan would not be what it is today. It would be a much better, one of the outstanding countries of the world. And this is what 𝐊𝐂𝐅 has pointed out in her writings. And then, being such a great statesman, Stanley Walpert, it's in the book itself, Stanley Walpert said that there are very few people who change the map of the world, and very few people who change history, and still very few people who make a nation state. And Quaid-e-Azam did all these three. So we can understand the kind of person he was. And then 𝐊𝐅 writes about Quaid-e-Azam's sister, Mohattarma Fatma Jinnah, who was nurtured by him, who was brought up by him, and he educated her, and he wanted to make her stand up on her feet and be independent. And she became a dentist in those times, and she opened a clinic. So that shows the importance of women's empowerment in the country, of what he thought about it. Being two wheels, a man and a woman, running the country together, not just a man doing it. So this is a strong view of Quaid-e-Azam. And then, in later years, she was with him, and she learned what politics was all about. And he made her into a leader of women. She opened up educational institutions and welfare institutions. She was steadfast, she was honest, she had dignity. And this is what 𝐊𝐅 has pointed out in all the articles and in all the book, in the chapters. Then she talks about the socio-cultural change in Pakistan from 1947 onwards to today. And the ups and downs, the upheavals, and the changes, the social media changes, Pakistan being part of the global village. So all these ups and downs, these upheavals, we've not had a very happy time in this country. But even then, in all her writings, she points out that this is a resilient Pakistan. We are resilient people, and we can do it. But it has to be Jinnah's Pakistan, a phrase coined by Liaquat Merchant Saab. So Jinnah's Pakistan is what we need right now. And this is what she points out, to make this country a huge, outstanding country like other developed countries. Then at the end of the book, what you pointed out of women, outstanding women in Pakistan. So she writes about Nadra Panjwani, she writes about Saadia Rashid, Amina Sayyed, and Samina Beg, you know, climbing 7 huge mountains of the world. And she's a hero. She's a great hero for us. And then General Negar. So these are women who worked hard and to achieve their goals. And they all overcame hurdles in life and set an example for young people, for young women. So empowerment of women is indeed necessary for us to make this country move forward. You want to say something?
I did have a note. The search as a journalist, certainly in the first volume, starts out, and the second and throughout, there is an underlying theme of finding Jinnah's Pakistan. When Liaquat Merchant and I spoke, and we had this banter where he said it's an ideology, it cannot exist. And by the volume of the third book is when I realized as a writer that it cannot exist. So there was just one brief moment where I came to this conclusion that as much as we try and we want this to happen, we should keep the ideals. Nobody is saying to lose them. But as much as we want to have this, Jinnah's Pakistan is something that is this ideology. But in the day-to-day, as a journalist, I came to this conclusion that it cannot exist with practicality. And I still would want it. Of course, anybody would want it because this is what we've grown up with. But we have to be aware of what is happening around us, aware of the negotiators, aware of the ruling parties, aware of the ruling elite, and that is what I came towards by the end of the book. And I would recommend that if you would like to see the journey of why this conclusion came to a point, I would say go to the third volume.
Thank you. Well, I feel that, all the more, if you feel that it's not practical, I do think that we have to keep repeating what Jinnah's Pakistan is all about, as enunciated by Mr. Liaquat Merchant. I think on that point we should not give up. This is something that we should shout from rooftops, from every platform, at every panel discussion or seminar or literature festival. We have to keep repeating it, because only then can we at least try our best to achieve it. And this time is, it couldn't be a better time to be reminded of this. I'd like to welcome the Consul General of Qatar, who has just joined us. Welcome, Your Excellency. What I found really unusual or really impressive about this book was that Miss Fatma Jinnah, she stood up against a dictator in 1965. And this was when she was 72 years old. And she traveled across Pakistan, held public meetings, and I think it's no mean achievement that at that ripe old age, she took on a military dictator of Pakistan and campaigned and ran for, and also she ran for the position of president of Pakistan, a woman running for that position. And I think that is something that we need to remind ourselves, because again, it gives us hope and it gives us courage that if Madre Millat could do it, why can't other women do it? So, Haya, I'd like to ask you about, the people that you have interviewed, and I'm so glad that you covered, I think, Shahzad Roy's, the wonderful work that he's doing. It's delightful that these stories have been covered by Haya in this book. I mean, the achievements of Samina Beg, the achievements of people like Ms. Nadra Panjwani, the social welfare work that she has done. I think all this gives us hope. And I feel that this is what makes the country resilient. The achievements and the efforts of individuals that are very well covered in this book. It's not just the odd interview achievement, it is really across the board. So could you tell us something about how you conducted your research? I know that when you, thank you so much for interviewing me for this book. And I know the number of phone calls and messages you sent. And I just felt that, if for one person, Haya is making such a big effort, for this entire book, you must have really devoted a lot of time and effort. Could you just talk about that?
Thank you. Yes, parts of the book, some of the volumes 1 to 3, they would be the articles on social and cultural impact. Anything that made a change or provided something to the country where it affected it. And it started out as a column in Daily Times, and my editor thought it was a great idea. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑, she's not here today, but she's in Lahore. But she thought it was a great idea. She said, well, okay, well, these are fantastical things that are happening. There are women marches, there are women on boards of governance, there are so many stories to cover. And simultaneously, I said, well, what if I choose the people? And sometimes it's very difficult to negotiate with the paper, but she allowed it. I said, well, what if I choose the women to interview? Because I also had that section going as well. And you know, when you talk about all the calls and everything, I was very hesitant with some of the women because, I mean, here I'm surrounded by all these giants. I've got the mother of literature and literature festivals to one side, Amina Syed, and she's the only Pakistani woman to have achieved the OBE, the Order of the British Empire. Am I correct? Right? I mean, you have to approach her, and she was very kind, and then you have to approach Sadia Rashid, who was the head of Hamdard. I had to speak to Nader Panjwani. You've got great tea at your office. Thank you. Thank you for receiving me, all of you. There are women in the audience. I think they're also in the book. So I'm just grateful that every single one gave time. And I think in the dedication and in the introduction, I had already said that thank you for the time, because time is so precious to give to somebody in these days. But all of the women that I interviewed were so dignified, and they had done so much, because what I really wanted to do was portray women who had done a service to the country. And every single one of them, I mean, has done something that has contributed towards Pakistan in a positive manner and has actually changed it. These were the women, all of them, including Khurshid on stage. I mean, I was telling them right before that they're the ones that opened up routes and pathways for us, for my generation, because if they hadn't done so and taken the lead, we would not be here today.
Thank you, Haya. That was fascinating. So I'm delighted that this book is now available, Resilient Pakistan, and it's a brilliant book by Haya Fatma Sehgal and really worth a read. I am also very happy to announce that we are also today launching 2 books for children that Ms. Nadra Panjwani mentioned in her talk. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑, written by Amna Asfar. And this is, again, the whole idea is to inspire young children. And it's about about Quaid-e-Azam as a child. And of course, covers the rest of his life. But it is something that will really engage and captivate children. And Amna Asfar, who's a very well-known children's writer and translator, she has translated the book into Urdu, and we have published 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑. And I would like to thank, these books have been published by Lightstone Publishers, and they have been supported and sponsored by Habib Metro. So a big thank you to Habib Metro also for sponsoring these wonderful books. Now may I open the floor for any questions? Of course.
I would say ये जो 1947 से लेके अब तक इन्होंने हया ने एक कूजे में बंद कर दिए जो भी चीज़ें हुई हैं, and I would suggest that all of you please do read this book. इसलिए कि it's written in a very easy English and in a very interesting style. So Haya, thank you for the book. And as Quaid-e-Azam and Haya has emphasized, Sultana Siddiqui is not here because she's in Islamabad, otherwise she would have been here. And her life has been extraordinary, of becoming what she is today, all because of her thinking and of focusing on what she wanted. So this is what Haya is trying to tell people through her book. Okay, when we work together, when we work hard, we can achieve something. We can achieve the Pakistan, Jinnah's Pakistan. So thank you, Haya, once again.
It's going to have to be a collective movement for all of us together. I think this is the time, and I think that we should all come together at this moment because we are facing a lot of trouble, and I think that I still think that there's time left for us.
Thank you, Haya and Khurshid. And are there any questions from the floor? Ji Shaheen. Shaheen, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Very simple question. There are thousands and millions of topics that you could have written. What convinced you that you should write on Mr. Jinnah's resilient Pakistan? I mean, Jinnah's legacy, Jinnah's Pakistan, resilient Pakistan. What hurdles you faced while writing the book, because the number of hurdles one can face, and what convinced you that this is the topic that should be there and that is the need of the hour?
I had initially gone to meet Mr. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑. I had taken an appointment, and I didn't go to write about Jinnah. I actually went to write about Fatima Jinnah, actually. And during the research that I did with him, and then everything that he gave to me, this topic came up, and it's not the main topic of the book. It's an underlying theme that runs through the book of embracing the ideals and still having a modernized state, keeping the values of integrity, faith, discipline, however we want to call it, but we wanted to, it is an underlying theme. It wasn't the main crux of the book. In fact, the end of the book does deal with the setting of international relations, diplomatic language, routes towards peace building, language, discourse, staying away, refraining from populist politics, which I don't think that he would have been happy with at all. He would have possibly wanted better ties with all of those around us, and that was the main thing that came out. What most people do is they stop in the beginning and say, oh, it's about Jinnah's Pakistan. That was an underlying theme that was throughout the book. So it wasn't the main topic, but it has been in over 20 articles that it came up that can we become the progressive nation that he wants.
Which is, we are the largest community of the youth in the entire world as of now. And the author, I again would call her among the youth, although it is said that ladies ki age ke baare mein baat nahi karni chahiye, but besides the point, I would still say that she is part of the youth, and she is that energizing lady who is representing the youth, and she is actually part of that cohort, which is the hope of this country. So all the kudos and all the salute to you. Thank you very much for arranging this ceremony.
Yes, well, Ms. Nadra Panjwani, I know that you made a wonderful speech. Would you like to add anything to the discussion?
Thank you very much. I already took up a lot of time, so I thought I will give the balance time to the panelists. Yes, it's a wonderful occasion. It's a wonderful book. I think we should all read it. It has got a great message. And like I said, resilience is the name of the game. We have had so many misfortunes, so many mishaps, but like everyone said, we are still there. And inshallah, if we set our house in order, and if we understand the true message of Quaid-e-Azam, we will make a difference, inshallah. There's always hope. Thank you.
And the book has been launched on a very auspicious day, the day of Quaid-e-Azam's birthday.
So this is, we'll conclude the panel discussion. Oh, sorry, there's another question.
Thank you, Haya. I'm Naseem Salahuddin. Haya, I haven't read your book. I will read it, of course, after this. And I understand that the reason you wrote about resilience is because you felt that there was something bad, something uh, that, that had to be brought up. You had to create that resilience because of things that have been happening in the past. And what really has been happening to my mind are the 4 wars we've had with India. East Pakistan was lopped off and we are left with a truncated Pakistan now. We've gone through a lot of upheavals that you mentioned. There have been, right now our population is sinking under the weight of finances, bad finances. Our population is getting more malnourished. I can see that in the population that I treat in my hospital. Illiteracy is going up rather than going down. So all these things are there, they're there. And I think you, in your courage, your wisdom, your farsightedness, you've said, okay, all these things are there, but let us come together and face these challenges. And I really pay tribute to women who are up there, all of you, Ms. Panjwani, Khurshid, yourself, Amina, and a lot of other women who I'm sure are there in the book. So I think our hope lies in women. We have to be stronger. We have to learn to be on our feet. We have to defend ourselves. There is oppression, depression amongst women. But if women can rise, I think that will be the ticket to success in the country. And even the youth is right now very depressed. They want to leave the country, but we have to give them the courage, and women have to do that. They have to do that together. So I think that will be the ticket to resilience, if indeed there is going to be any. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Naseem Salahuddin. You yourself are a wonderful role model for women. So we'd like to conclude the panel discussion. And now we are going to show a film made by the Citizen Archives of Pakistan on Jinnah in Pakistan. Thank you. And after that, we'll have the concluding remarks by Mr. Ikram Sehgal, and then tea. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much everyone for coming here today, and thank you so much Haya for having us, and Liaquat Merchant especially. My name is Shaheen Jafrani and I am representing the Citizens Archive of Pakistan. Just to share a little about what we do, शायद आप में से कुछ लोग हैं जिनको पता होगा हमारे बारे में, some of you may not know, but we are an archive that established in 2007. We're a not-for-profit organization dedicated for historic and cultural preservation, and our mandate focuses on building on our archive, educating the young generation to instill pride about our nation, and to disseminate that information from the archive. Now, as far as the research is concerned, how we actually go about it is by conducting oral histories and oral testimonies. As a memory project, we try to understand and completely dismantle history by speaking to people who experienced it. So today, there are 4 short videos that we will be showcasing at this event to share with you who Jinnah was, and who were the people, what were those events, and how Jinnah was as like the founder of the nation or as an individual. So I hope these videos prove to be educational. The very first video that we are going to showcase is what were people's experience like when they interacted with Jinnah. So
Rashid is here. Thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to say a few words here or shall I give you the mic? जी 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 बिल्कुल. आप बैठ के पढ़ेंगे या आप यहाँ?
To all the distinguished guests present, and of course the most distinguished of all, the justly celebrated young author, Haya Fatma Sehgal. Before I proceed any further, I would like to thank the organizers for including me among the list of speakers at this launch. Even more, I would like to thank Haya for including an interview of me in her book. The title of the book really says it all. It sums up the heart of the matter, not only key aspects of the facets of the nation, but also its aspirations, challenges, and the realities resulting from the combination of the two. There was and is a vision of Pakistan. This had had hurdles thrown up in its path, and challenges, big and small, have had to be confronted. That's where the resilience has shown itself. The people have tried to jump over the hurdles and confront the challenges. They may not have succeeded brilliantly, but neither have they given up and thrown down their arms. Therein lies their resilience. This is yet this unextinguished beam of hope. Haya's book is not only a technical tome, nor a deeply researched, learned textbook, but I'll tell you what makes it valuable. It is eminently readable, not just by scholars, but the lead reader who has sufficient intelligence and, even more importantly, common sense to know something and wish to know more about all matters of importance to all countries and peoples. Things like education, health, gender equality, tolerance, freedom of speech, economic viability, and also something perhaps about that dreadful, crippling cancer of corruption, which cannot be fought without knowledge. There have been dedicated, driven individuals, as well as groups of determined individuals who formed organizations in order not just to talk, but do things, achieve a desirable goal which benefits not just them, but all fellow countrymen. Haya has touched upon the written about both. For those seeking a balance between hopelessness and hope, for a picture of Pakistan which may not have succeeded but never gives up, I can honestly recommend investing in a copy of The Resilient Pakistan. Thank you for your patient hearing.
Can we see part 2 of the film? There are 3 parts of this CAP film.
Thank you so much. So there's a second video that is basically by 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 Haroon, who shares her memories of the moment when the Pakistan flag was being designed and what was Guide's input in that. It's a very special video, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
मुस्लिम लीग का फ्लैग था ग्रीन विद अ चांद तारा एंड ऑब्वियसली वो ही था और कोई और नहीं था. अब आया पाकिस्तान. कायद ने कहा अब ये फ्लैग तो हम नहीं चला सकेंगे क्योंकि ये तो मुस्लिम लीग का फ्लैग है, मतलब है कि मुस्लिम का फ्लैग है. आप मेहरबानी करके जाके और ये माइनॉरिटीज के लिए भी इनको इंट्रोड्यूस अंदर लगा दें हमारे फ्लैग में. तो फिर उन्होंने कहा अच्छा हम वाइट एक बॉर्डर लगा देंगे, वो रिप्रेजेंट करेगा माइनॉरिटीज़ को। कायदे आज़म ने कहा था कि मुझे भेजो और मैं अप्रूव करूँगा। आप देखें, इतना बिजी आदमी, इतना काम उनके सर पे, मगर क्या एक एक चीज़ और माइनॉरिटीज़ का ख्याल। वो गया, वापस गया तो उन्होंने किसी से पूछा जो उनके पास थे कि भाई ये माइनॉरिटीज़ कितने हैं पाकिस्तान में? कहने लगे 30%। बोला वापस ले जाओ और ये जो बॉर्डर है सफ़ेद, इसको 30% करो तुम्हारे फ्लैग में, उनको रिप्रेजेंट करो प्रॉपरली। ऐसा नहीं कि तुमने थोड़ा सा कर दिया। तो वो वापस आया, फिर बना और फिर उस पर वो वाइट लगाया। तो मैं कहती हूँ उनकी नोबिलिटी इतनी थे कि ये मुसलमानों को लिए ये बरकत होगा ये कंट्री। His whole intention was make this country so great that everybody around will say this is Pakistan.
Thank you so much. Now you know you can probably get a sense of how archival material plays such an important role in stitching the narrative about our history and the kind of stories that come together through people's memory. Likewise, we have another special video which is about the very first radio announcement of Pakistan on the night of 13th and 14th of August, and what was the scenario like by Agha Salman Bakir. Can we please have the next video? Thank you.
आगा मोहम्मद बाकर ने किया था, मिर्जा मुस्तफ़ा अली हमदानी ने पेश किया।
अस्सलामु अलैकुम। पाकिस्तान ब्रॉडकास्टिंग सर्विस, हम लाहौर से बोल रहे हैं। 13 और 14 अगस्त सन 47 ईस्वी की दरमियानी रात 12 बजे है। तुलुए सुबह आज़ादी।
Thank you so much. And hello, yeah. Now we have the last video, which is basically a speech by Quaid-e-Azam, which was in Bannu in 1948, where he talks about his vision. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
पाकिस्तान हमने हासिल किया, लेकिन फिर भी इसको बनाने का है। ताकि रहमत से अब जो चीज हम चाहते हैं वो हमारे पास है। अब ये वक्त आ गया है आपके लिए, सबके लिए, आप कोशिश करो और पाकिस्तान को आगे बढ़ाओ, ऐसी कौम बन जाए कि दुनिया में जो बड़ी बड़ी कौम है उसके सामने मुकाबला।
Thank you very much, Citizens Archives of Pakistan. I think they're doing a wonderful job in preserving our history and our heritage. And many of the people that they've interviewed actually are no longer alive, so it is very valuable archives that they have. May I now request Mr. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 to give the concluding remarks? Thank you.
Thank you, Amina. Thank you, Amina. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I had no intention of going on the stage and crossing 5 women. You know what happens to you even if you cross one of them. To start with, Nisal Rashid, Nadra Panjwani, Khurshid Haider, Haya, and Amina Saeed. It's been a wonderful gathering, and we're grateful to you for organizing this. I think you inadvertently let out that this is Institute of Nation Building is also Jinnah Society and Karachi Council of Foreign Relations. In fact, it is an initiative of the Karachi Council of Foreign Relations, of which Nadra Panjwani is the chairperson. I think one thing I would like to correct, and I know before I go on about the book, that is, Haya said ideology, and said, you know, we have to this thing. Please remember, ideology was a means to an end. One day after he achieved Pakistan in the name of Islam, Quaid-e-Azam went on radio and said, your faith is your own thing. The business of the state has nothing to do with it, or more words to the fact. So he was pragmatic. Once you achieved your aim, then you have to be pragmatic. And he went on. With pragmatism is once you have done something, you achieve your aims, you be pragmatic. And of course, I will say this, that the speakers have spoken so much about the Quaid, one cannot really expound on that as much as they can, each of them. One is a proud father. Haya has written a wonderful collection of articles which have been reproduced. The theme has been constant, and that is very important. You know, of course, she writes better than I could ever write. I was educated in the Pakistan Military Academy, and all the education I got was at the Lyasi Masjid drinking water in the 9-mile race. So I didn't know much about writing when I took to writing. Haya was educated to that end. And it will follow. My generations to follow, I'm sure, you know, my grandchildren will keep the theme going in one way or the other. One of my granddaughters already come into print. So I think what Haya represents, she represents a great symbol to them, that this is what is coming down from the generation. And thank you, Haya, for that. So I will say this to you, the thing about resilient Pakistan. Look at all the crises we have. Not one. Whether it's economic, political, water, security, any nation. We have, to our last count, about 12 major crises. Any nation with 3 or 4 of them would have collapsed by now. Pakistan goes on. And let me tell you, you represent the resilient Pakistan. Let me end you by just one thing. Yesterday, we were told that you cannot have the function here. Why cannot you have the function? Because a curator came and told us that you cannot use the function. This is a heritage site, and the rangers will not allow it. So we checked up. The rangers had nothing to do with it. Right? Somebody was trying to, they're taking the rangers' name. Rangers had nothing to do with it. Then at 12 o'clock at night, they said there's going to be a terrorist attack here. Right? So obviously it was all closed down. It was terrorist attack is going to come. And then they said, we cannot have a function here. All right, only 100 people can come. Right? Well, that also passed, right? Because the true story came out 11 o'clock in the morning when ARY television came out and quoted the Sindh Minister for Culture saying that no function can be held here because this is a heritage site. Right? Obviously, we spoke to his bosses, and I don't want to mention that, but his bosses are there always. So, you represent resilient Pakistan. You came despite all that, nothing. So, the point is, that is what Pakistan is all about. Pakistan is about the second largest copper and gold reserves in the world. Pakistan is all about the third largest coal reserves in the world. Pakistan is all about the fourth largest cotton industry in the world. Pakistan is all about the fifth largest milk producing country in the world, the sixth largest rice producing country in the world, the seventh largest wheat producing country in the world. We have the nuclear means and we have the means to deliver them. But above all, we have the young youth of this country. And this nation makes one thing very strong, and that is the resilience of this nation. Thank you, Fahia, for pointing this out. And thank you, ladies, each of you, for having delivered on the promise. I can only say thank you to all of you for giving me the thing.
Thank you, Mr. Ikram Sehgal, for your concluding remarks. Thank you, Mr. Sehgal, for your concluding remarks. May I now ask Commodore Sadeed Saab, Director General of the Karachi Council of Foreign Relations, to give a vote of thanks.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. I'm here to thank you all for coming here and making this occasion a great success. But first of all, I must thank the students who have come all the way from so many schools, about whom Mrs. Saeed had said that this was as a result of an MOU signed between Government of Sindh and Karachi Council on Foreign Relations and Jinnah Society, led by Mr. Ikram Sehgal, the then chairman and now patron-in-chief of Karachi Council on Foreign Relations, and Mr. 𝐊𝐂𝐅𝐑 Merchant of Jinnah Society, and our former Chief Minister, Mr. Murad Ali Shah. It was the vision of Mr. Murad Ali Shah and the then Corps Commander. We were disappointed by the degeneration that has taken place in our society. We wanted to establish an institute of nation building, and that was decided that it will be done here. So thank you very much, students, for coming. Excellencies, Thank you very much for coming, taking out time from your very, very busy schedule. The 5 ladies sitting right here who have given their comments, Pakistan Archives, who have shown a wonderful 3 small film shots, and members of the Board of Management, the members of Board of Governors from Karachi Council, members of Jinnah Society, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. But I must also add what Mr. Ikram Sehgal had just said, that all these things would not have been possible unless all this setup was possible, which was, I don't know why, but there was a lot of resistance. Perhaps the first time, and perhaps it is going to be the last time that such a thing has happened, because this was the vision of the government of Sindh, that we are here. From the previous Chief Minister, and I'm sure it shall continue during this time also. Thank you very much for coming, and God bless you all. With this, our function concludes, and the high tea is served. Thank you very much.